Hey, HR friends, welcome back. We're in the 5-1 emotional 6.5 day sequence. We're going to talk about the whole sequence. So, we're going to do a general overview here. Okay. Now, there are 14 6.5 day sequences to each season. So, this is the first sequence in fall, and each sequence in every season is going to be unique. Every year, they're a little bit different. And what this is we're going to go over the electromagnetics as well as the testing sequence and how during this time of the year, even though we're being tested on the same things and even though we're trying to overcome our defensive design, it's just going to feel a little bit different. That's what this is about. So the first charts we look at are the polarity movements. These are the unseen polarity changes as we cycle through space and time. And space-time creates this pattern of polarity moments that actually agitate our defensive design. You see, every sentient participant has a defensive system of control, and when that system is agitated, it tries to get them to react in one of two ways, to either run away from their problems or stand up and fight for their problems in hurtful ways. Now, when these graphs, any of them, whether it's first person, third person, or the combined graph reaches a level 4, and holds or stays above that level of 4, our defensive design is really going to be agitated. And what that does is it manipulates not only our individual choices, but our collective choices. That's how we can use these graphs and these patterns to understand when social tension is going to rise or when weather events are going to get a little spicy. Okay. So that's what we're going to talk about here first. And what we want to do is we want to look at the overall week here. And you can see that this week is going to start out pretty difficult. Why do I say that? Well, let's just look at the combined here first. So day one is what we've got in this white rectangle. And in day one alone, you can see that the combined is at the level 4 up to the level 8. So for the first 24 hours in this sequence, it's going to be very challenging. Now, the other thing that happens, we just came out of the 4-2. And when we transition from an emotional awareness into a new emotional awareness, there's actually a big polarity flip that happens, meaning everything's stacking up and changing at the same time. So we've got all kinds of different rhythms, and some of the rhythms are stronger and longer than others. And the two that we really worry about are the emotional and the mental rhythms. So what's going to happen here in day one is this. We've got a dual emotional polarity flip happening in the first person perspective. We have a dual mental polarity flip happening at the third person perspective. And when you add those two things together, that's what's bringing our average up here so high. So day one is going to be challenging. In addition, we're starting a new season, which means we're in a different shape. So we left the summer season or the cube, and now we're entering the fall season or the dodecahedron. And this is just going to increase the level of power or energy that we're going to feel. The dodecahedron of the fall season is actually stronger. All right. So those are some things that we want to know about here. And as we look at this sequence, the first 3 days are going to be the toughest. Okay. And that's just because it's going to take a couple days for those mental and emotional polarity flips to kind of phase out here. Now, by day 3, we get down and reset in third person down to 0, and then it just kind of bounces up and down at 0. And the same thing happens at first person. Now, these two stresses, let's just talk about those quick. If you've got first person agitation, that's going to cause agitation with all the people you see on a day-to-day basis, your family members, your coworkers, your community members. The difference between first person and third person is this. Third person stress, that's all about the bigger picture. We're all designed to see the bigger picture different ways. And what you don't want to do is you don't want to invest in arguing over the way you see it. Okay. That's a trap. These patterns right here, what they're doing is they're agitating your design and they're trying to agitate you to either worry about first or third person perspectives and make stress for yourself. Now, you don't want this pattern to win. If you allow this pattern to manipulate you, it increases your stress load, which accelerates your aging and it causes future states of disease. Electromagnetics, first 3 days, very, very serious. Okay. We really want to be calm. We really want to be clear. And if we can get through these first 3 days, it's really going to calm down after that. All right. So now we're going to look at the testing sequence for the 5-1. Now, each emotional testing sequence will be a little different. It'll have variations on what's being tested, which quadrants are being tested on each day. So this pattern goes up and down. And this pattern is really going to help you why your body feels like your pain, your stiffness, your tension, why it moves around. You see, 24/7, what we're supposed to be doing is we're supposed to be getting along with every teammate, okay? But our defensive design, that tricks us into thinking, well, there's certain teammates we don't have to get along with. If you decide to let your defensive design manipulate your choices and you act defensively or negatively, these frequencies are going to let you know that your choices matter and that you don't want to continue to make that choice. Whatever teammates you're struggling to get along with, well, those are the quadrants of your body that are going to age faster and end up with disease. That's how that works. Now, the other thing we have to do is we have to understand what we're supposed to be doing here. Okay. There's an objective. And that objective is we have to balance our individual and collective routines. And to do that, what does that look like? Well, you have to invest every day in a structure in which it's not only going to help you and your family and your community and your nation, but it's going to help all families, all individuals, and all nations equally. You see, what you want to invest in is a routine that's going to leave this world a better place for every future participant, every future family. So it won't matter where someone's born in the future, they're going to have equal opportunity because of how you contributed in this lifetime. Now, if you contribute in an unbalanced way, what's happened is you've let your defensive design convince you that you're more important than somebody else, and there are going to be consequences for that. So, to be in alignment with these frequencies, it's this simple to understand. You have to commit to your team, and to do that, you have to overcome your defensive design. The other thing you have to do is you got to change your routine, and everybody's going to have to make some pretty big drastic changes here. You don't believe me? Look around. Things aren't so balanced. In order to balance things at the larger level, we're going to have to commit and balance things at the individual level. And to do that, now you know what that looks like too. You have to leave a legacy that when people think about what you did and what you invested in, that you made this place better for everybody else. If you do that, you're in alignment with these frequencies. And instead of them aging you faster and causing future states of disease, if you become in harmony with these frequencies by balancing your choices, you can slow aging to a crawl and you can actually reverse and heal disease. Now, there's one more thing we talk about every time. This is an objective. And when you commit to this objective and when you do it till the last day and you leave that legacy that people are going to have a better experience because of what you did while you were here, there's a huge reward. You get out of this negative feedback loop we're in. You see, there are two ways to exist in space-time reality, a negative feedback loop or a positive feedback loop. We're currently in the negative side. To get out of the negative side, there's going to be some suffering, meaning you're going to have to suffer through the ways that you feel and balance your choices. That's just how that works. All right, so let's end this general overview by just looking at which quadrants of the body are going to be tested the heaviest during this 5-man sequence. Now, level 4 is what we look at here too. If there are more than 4 frequencies in a quadrant at any given day, that's a lot of test load. If there's less than 4, not so much. And you can see that the left upper quadrant is at that 3-4 range pretty much the entire 6.5-day sequence. Same pattern here for the upper right. They're going to be very similar. Upper right's going to be in that 3 to 4 range for this entire sequence. Now, in the last set, the 4-2, we were really having a lot of left lower quadrant testing. That was the quadrant that was tested the heaviest. It's going to start out a little heavy here in day 1 of this sequence, but then it drops kind of back down for a few days and then it comes back up. So left lower quadrant, if you were having problems with that in the last sequence, that's going to continue on here. There's no doubt about it. Now, when we look at the right lower quadrant, we're right at that 4 line 2. So this is a little more balanced sequence than the 4-2 was. The 4-2 was heavy in the left lower and left upper. 5-1 is pretty much consistent and balanced in all the quadrants. Now, as we do the day-to-day analysis, we're going to talk about some days are going to be a little bit harder for certain quadrants. The 5-1 is something that you're going to want to balance everything. I wouldn't focus on one relationship or one routine more than another. What you're really going to want to do here is you're going to want to commit to doing better with every teammate, whether they're in your family, whether they're at work, whether they're your community members. And you're going to want to balance your routine. You're going to want to start to make some pretty significant changes here because the more unbalanced your routines are and the more unbalanced your relationships are, the more you suffer. The faster things go and you get stuck in this negative feedback loop. That's what we're trying to help you understand here. That's a great overview for the 5-1. See you at the 24-hour forecast.